We ran into two rangers on the Bass Trail. Only
That's
two people.
surprising.
Surprising. It was the only two people we saw, period.
Wow.
And they were not happy
Mm,
that we were there. First
mm,
question out of their mouth is, how did you even get down here? It's basically like, how'd you even know about this place?
mm-hmm.
Apparently, they were down there for, how they spend like a week or so at a time gathering some sort of information, doing research, whatever they're doing. Well, they're just super inquisitive, like they're supposed to be, probably. And I'm not sitting here trying to lie to anybody. They asked me how am I going to get across the river? I'm like, well, if it's passable, we're going to look and see. If it looks passable, we're going to swim it. And I asked her, is there anything illegal about that? She said it's not illegal, and she used the words highly discouraged. So talk about this for a second, and I'm not. She she told me multiple times she would not stop saying that this is how people die over and over. So maybe talk a little bit about the safety aspects of it, but also talk about just the National Park Service in general, the rangers in general. Did you clear this with anybody to do this? Did you check with anybody? Are we supposed to? What's kind of your opinion on that whole thing?
Right. Well, first, appreciate our national park system, our public lands, all of our public lands from BLM to parks. As Ken Burns, the documentary, America's Best Idea, that's a very good documentary series. And the Rangers, like you said, in places like this, they're dedicated. Like you said, they were down on the Bass Trail. These guys know what they're doing. And then backing up to some of your specific clarifications. So we needed a permit to car camp at the South Bass Trailhead. So we had that. But other than that, no, like she said, no, there's nothing illegal about that. And if you're out for the day, there's nothing illegal. If you don't camp, you don't need a permit. That's kind of how it works. Now, I should note that there's some places like the first place was Half Dome in Yosemite National Park where you need a day permit. Whitney, now you need a day permit. So now there's day permits coming up in the really popular places. But generally speaking, you need a permit to camp and do not for anything else, including there. Then going to her comments to you, you have to realize the crap they see. I mean, I was
Yes.
searching for the adjective to use on to make sure Apple Podcast didn't, kick us out. But you can't believe the baloney that they have to deal with. It's unbelievable. So we go down there, presumably we're responsible trail runners, and to drop a goo wrapper on the trail is just don't do it. I mean, that's how we are. We're respectful of everybody and everything first and foremost, and the time it takes you to do it is absolutely secondary, right? That's the ethic. I'm just going to say that as fact, and people can challenge me if they
No,
want, but that's
agree a
how we
hundred
roll.
percent. Agree 100%. Thank you for saying that. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Brian. And so they're dealing with people who don't know what they're doing, getting into massive amounts of trouble, and that includes runners. I'm going to tell you a story, which is, gosh, it's a tough story. A woman was not doing rim to rim; she was just dropped down. I think all she was doing, she went down to Kaibab and the Tonto and up Bright Angel, which is a fun route. That's a good route. And I'm not sure if she lost the Tonto, but she got off the Tonto somehow, and she's running out of water. And she was an experienced runner. She'd done the Boston Marathon in pretty good times, but she's down there with her pint of water. I forgot what it is now, but it wasn't the thing. And she said, "I'm just going to go to the river and get water." You can't do that. And so she went to the edge of the rim there on the Tonto and went like 20 meters down in the Vishnu, and it doesn't work. You can't get there from there. And she sat there and she died. And that's not a pleasant way to go. You're dying of dehydration over the span of like a day. It's no fun. And the Rangers got to go find her and bring her body back up to the top. And so they've seen it. And so if they're giving you warnings, be respectful, be open about what you're doing and say, I think I got this. Here's why. And proceed, presuming you do have it. And something I'm just kind of bumped to the side here. They go to the Alps. And there's something called the Kilian effect. Kilian Jornet, the best mountain ultra trail runner of his generation, who does incredible things. So people started getting into trouble after that. People see what he's doing. They say, I'm going to go do that. And it's like, ooh, no, you can't do that. And Kilian himself says right out of the bat, you got to train, you got to practice, you need skills. This is not a road marathon. Develop your skills first and then go in the backcountry incrementally after you've developed your skills. And that's what I would have to say also. And that's why the Rangers were kind of grilling you.
Yeah. And again, I don't have a problem with it. The hyperbole was a little much with this is how people die. And I asked her straight up, I go, when's the last time someone died trying to swim across the Colorado River? And she's like, I can't think of a time. But I can't imagine someone purposefully getting into the river with the intent to swim across, not having at least a pretty high level of common sense, whether or not you think you can do that. I would hope not.
I think, Brian, I'd have to go with the latter. I would hope not. No, people have definitely done that. Yeah, whatever you can imagine as stupid and no one would ever do, people have done it. So there's a book. I can't remember the title, but the entire book is fatalities in the Grand Canyon.
It's called Death in the Grand Canyon.
There you go. It's a thick book. And it's not usually, sometimes just accidents happen. You could be hiking along and there's a rock fall and rock hits you in the head. That's an accident. But some of them are not accidents.
Most are not accidents. Most are avoidable. But going back to something you said about the incrementally getting into the backcountry, I can't stress that enough. I didn't even really get back into running, I should say, until 2020. So that's at the time of this recording, right at 4 years ago. And one of the first things I did that summer of 2020, there's not hardly anything to do anyway. Well, I went and took a wilderness kind of survival backcountry class with Knowles. And one of the most respected, educators in this space, to learn how to do first aid in the backcountry. The wilderness first responder class. It was a 9-day class in the backcountry in the mountains of North Carolina, of Western North Carolina. And I mainly did it because I'd started hiking a lot, and I had little kids at the time, and I don't know what I'm doing, but if I'm taking these kids hiking, even if it's for 2, 3, 5 miles, I want to be able to be at least somewhat educated. Started there. I joined a search and rescue team locally, served on that rescue team for almost 2 years, and then slowly started trail running, did a couple of Ironman races, and just most recently did a 100-mile race, trail run. So you're talking about incrementally, you're 100% right. It's incrementally. You can't just, going back to the Boston Marathon lady, I just don't know that you would be ready for a challenge like this just because you ran a few marathons.
Right. Well, Brian, congratulations. Very, very well done. You gave excellent examples. And so just to clarify for the listeners, NOLS stands for National Outdoor Leadership School, based in Lander, Wyoming. You took a class in North Carolina. Good for you. And you did a woofer. That's what those are. Sorry, in the sport, in the industry, that's what your first aid course is called, as a woofer. So fantastic, Brian. I hope if I am ever having trouble in the Grand Canyon, I see you.
If I'm running through it, I may not have everything I should need. But so during this trip we took last May, I kind of organized the trip with some friends. There's 5 of us, and we were going to do R3 together, and we couldn't because the North Kaibab Trail was closed. But we still went to Cottonwood and back. It was about 32, 33 miles. A great trip, great thing for us to do. But I took a full pack, and we were lightly jogging a lot of the canyon floor. I took a bigger pack, way bigger pack than I would have if I was just running it, because there's 4 other people. They're experienced in the backcountry. They're experienced trail runners. but I feel like I'm responsible here. If something were to happen to them, I want to make sure that, I can do the best I can to get them to a trailhead, which is all I could be asked to do. Um, so I say all this to say, Buzz, I don't record this podcast. I'm not asking you on here to sit here and invite anyone and everyone to come and try something like this. I just feel like you really need to know what you're doing. But I think it's a cool story. I think it's a cool route. And if you know what you're doing and you have a significant experience, I would recommend it.